Hey, what's up, Trojan family? Welcome to the USC LAFB show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. This is the LAFB Network. We are Los Angeles Sports, and this is your home for USC Trojans football news. I appreciate you, as always, for making this a part of your day, dropping all your comments, your support, your love. It means the world to me. Thank you so much as we continue building this USC community here on LAFB. Let's talk a little rumors, shall we? We try to keep it pretty straightforward with the recruiting news and kind of what's trending, what guys are looking at, visits that are happening, kind of commitments, obviously, that happen. Let's talk some fun. Let's talk a little rumor, right? So Xavier Griffin, May 14th, decommits, or USC and Xavier Griffin agree to part ways. We've documented it. I've written about it a ton on LAFBNetwork.com. I've talked about it on the show. If you don't know, very quickly, USC new policy is trying to get guys when they commit to lock or shut down their recruitment, not take any more visits, just to be fully dedicated. And Xavier Griffin wanted to continue taking visits and kind of just keeping his options open in a way, which I get. USC said, okay, that's fine. Let's just, go our separate ways. That's probably what's best for both. Because in USC's mind, is the last thing they want is him going on these other visits and then end up decommitting in October, and then they've allocated that spot for him, and now they have to scramble in the final 2 months when they're in season. So it just kind of saves their back. I get it from both sides. That's a whole different argument, different discussion. So they move on. Xavier Griffin, the day he decommitted, or maybe the next day, already got a crystal ball to Alabama from 24/7 Sports. Not talking to any ill will. Wish nothing best for the kid. Family seems amazing. That, again, these crystal balls aren't facts and guarantees, but that kind of tells you that he was wavering, or there was definitely a strong indication that he could have flipped Alabama anyway if it happened that quickly. Then just yesterday, Steve Wiltfong of On3 puts in an expert prediction for him to commit to Alabama. So, based on that and how quick it is, he also announced that he's going to be announcing his commitment after his official visits at the end of June, or June 19th, I think, actually, so not even the end of June. So, again, all happening very quickly for someone that just parted ways with the school he was committed to for, 6+ months. Kind of just shows you where kind of his headspace was. Great. Not saying it any will. It just, I think that speaks for itself. So, that all transpired. Then you have depending what site you look on, I mean, he's, Xavier Griffin's one on, I think, 24/7. The other sites all have Tyler Atkinson, another Georgia linebacker, plays at Grayson High School. A lot of them have him as the number one linebacker. He's uncommitted. He's been obviously highly linked to the likes of Georgia and a lot of the other SEC schools. Ohio State's heavy on his trail. All the usual players going after this kid. SC obviously was never in the running for him because they had Xavier Griffin. And so, they obviously talked to him, and there was, communication and an offer, I think, was given. But they were never really hard recruiting him because they had Xavier Griffin. And it's unlikely, especially with the NIL and having to pay these kids, where you could afford both, let alone get both. So we're never really in it. Well, now with Xavier Griffin decommitted, SC has obviously ramped up some conversation. So on just 2 days ago, this young man, Tyler Atkinson, posts on Twitter a video of him, practicing with fellow teammates and other players with the caption, "We just warming up," and tagged a few of the recruiting people, but then tagged Coach Rob Ryan, Coach Henney, in USC football, and then USC Rivals, the recruiting site for Rivals. I mean, these kids do this all the time. I don't think it's not healthy to read into social posts. But with everything going on with Xavier Griffin, USC now having an opening and a need at linebacker, it is very fortuitous or very interesting that the number one linebacker in the country would specifically tag USC. The only visit as of now, based on everything that I have looked up, that he has scheduled is with Clemson this weekend. Now, he's the number one linebacker in the country. He will certainly have more official visits. I'm sure he'll go to Georgia. I'm sure probably Ohio State's on there. But based on this post, I would expect USC to get an official visit for him. And how much would the college football world erupt in flames if, after parting ways with arguably the number one linebacker in Xavier Griffin, shortly after they gained the other number one linebacker and they gain a commitment from Tyler Atkinson? I'm not saying it's going to happen. I will say it's a lot more likely than it was 2 weeks ago. Take that for what you want. But it's just interesting. It's a fun rumor. And it is positive development that they're at least communicating with this kid, and he's obviously responsive and putting out there in the world that, like, hey, yeah, I'm talking to USC, talking to Coach Rob Ryan, talking to Coach Henne. Very interesting. Very interesting. So we'll keep that posted. He is, from all the sites, heavily linked to Georgia. He has also said himself Clemson was a dream school before they even offered. Being from Georgia, from the Southeast, that's it. There's always a challenge getting those kids to come all the way west. SC, for all the national news of guys they've lost from Georgia in the South, they've still gained a lot when you think of the Cam Fountains of the world, and obviously Jakeem Stewart from Louisiana. So, they've still had a successful rate at getting Southern kids. It's just, obviously California and they've honed in on that, which I think is the smart play to do. So we'll see. It's a long way to go. This is just a rumor based on a Twitter post from Tyler Atkinson. But it's not nothing, right? It's not nothing. The communication's there. And so now the next step will be seeing if USC and Atkinson lock in an official visit, which I will sit here and say I have not heard it's happening, but I will just sit here in my opinion. I do believe that will come to fruition. And then we'll see how it plays out from there. But another opening here, another potential 5-star get. And if they don't, I don't think it's the end of the world. It's not someone they've ever really heavily pursued. But if they can kind of come into the race late and make an impression, really interesting. So what do you guys think? Obviously, this, in my opinion, has no effect on Talanoa Ely. I think he's still very much favored for USC. I think he's the big get for USC at the linebacker position, a guy that they have highly targeted, highly favored. Obviously, the family, you can tell, just wants to be in SoCal. You can tell, Glenn Ely, I've never spoken to, but you can just see his interaction. Like, there's a lot of pride between both USC and UCLA, and hopeful that his son ends up at one of those two schools. USC is the front runner, obviously, and when his official visit comes in June, that will obviously speak volumes there. So it's not a done deal, but very favored to end up at SC. So I don't think this affects that in any way, shape, or form. But hey, if you can get both, which it looked like was going to happen anyway when Griffin was still here, you were going to land both because you need more linebackers, obviously, in this class moving forward. So, but we'll see. Little rumor mill for you. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments. Also, hit up our message board. If you head to lafbnetwork.com, the menu, just look for forums. You'll see our USC Trojans message board there. It's brand new. Not a lot of interaction yet. We're trying to grow it, trying to build. It's going to take time, obviously, as all things do. But the more of you, the engagement on YouTube is amazing. The more of you that head over to the website, we can kind of get on the message board there. It'd be awesome to see. So, but drop your comments here. Drop your comments over there. You can hit me up on Twitter at Ryan Doward LAFB. Be back with more recruiting news very soon. Thank you as always for the love and support. And as always, fight on.